Hello, everybody. Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
So, today is June 6th, 2023. This is the anniversary of D-Day. We are going to start out with a moment of silence for all the lives lost on D-Day. We are going to be playing the Star Spangled Banner and the national anthem from Great Britain. Also, in this country, it's the tune "My Country 'Tis of Thee" is more familiar to most of our listeners. So here we go. Moment of silence. Oh, sorry, guys. Now on to our regularly scheduled program. Thank you for the moment of silence there. And welcome to Safety Wars from the highway here in beautiful Clarkstown and everything else. So we are on much everybody doing tonight. I tell you what, we're going to have this story. Let me see if I can pull it up right away. This was the talk of the town today. Everybody was talking about it in town. What was that? You have those forest fires up there in Quebec, all the way up north up there. And it's, let's see the story here. So anyway, we've had these forest fires up in Canada. And as you know, Clarkstown, New York, if you're a regular listener, is right outside New York City in Rockland County. And here is the New York Times. The air quality the index explain what it means and stay safe. Hundreds of wildfires across Canada are polluting the air. Those darn Canadians, I'm only joking. Hundreds of wildfires across Canada are polluting the air, making it hazardous for residents to venture outside. Leading to air quality alert parts of New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, and Minnesota, and I'll add New Jersey. So, somewhere, I guess it was 10 this morning, I have very dark and it's eerie. This clouds ground level, and then the wood then knocked out, and it was that you don't sun, and that's how it was today. It's hard to believe that fires from about 4 away could impact you that much, but it never ceases to surprise me or amaze me, Mother Nature's wrath here, for lack of a better. A lot of activities tomorrow are stopped. The outdoor activities for the local school district here and everything. So kids participate in the out there into the smoke, right? Let's remember the people impacted more directly than we are down here with this, and I hope things work out for them. So we're getting into a little bit of policy here because it's now because I have some commentary on safety issues here, immediate ones over here in New York City. I wanted to point them out. Adams ideas of New Yorkers, that's Adams, of housing migrants in private residence. So as New York City is a city, migrants, illegal aliens, that be called, and whatever migrants, what have you, they're human beings that deserve some respect, right? God. So he wants to say, hey, float the idea, why don't we put them in private residences? So let's say that you have room in your residence to house one of these individuals. I think we're asking for problems here. Most of these people are peaceful, looking for a better life, but some of them are not peaceful and are looking for a better life nonetheless. Their version of a better life. Do we really? How would you feel there? We're going to be putting people into your private residence. I mean, we, believe it or not, we do have an amendment to the Constitution when it talks about quartering troops in residence. So one of the issues around the Revolutionary War was when the British Army would come into town, they'd take over homes, and you'd have to, if you're there, you had to give it to them. And now, the Third Amendment is one of those amendments that I don't believe has ever been litigated from based on the information I have. But here we have a situation where, hey, we're going to pay you to house a migrant person. And it's a lot, 3 to 4 times is what he's proposing, what you would pay for a foster child in the home, that foster parents get paid. He's saying, well, hey, we're in, people are short on cash, and a little bit of moolah goes in there. I mean, how close, no, how far away from me with from the old domino theory, where now soon they'll be requiring people to house residents because there's a housing crisis. Now, I think we're going on treacherous safety. at highest level, the biggest increase since records began in 1950. For like, and you know that you get. Off me. Oh, here we go. Sound effects. Some follow-up, right? We have a lot of comments on here because we have presidential candidates, new presidential candidates out there. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why you want to run go is actually win. Hopefully you're in. The second way is to right? And the third thing is to Operation Chaos, as one had have a lot of Chris Governor Christie. By the way, full disclosure, I met him several times when he was governor. Nice guy, by the way, very polite guy. He's the kind of guy that used to write thank you notes, and apparently, and everything, he was good at writing thank you notes and had manners and everything when he was growing up. And then what happened was, if you, my opinion, no, not the station's opinion, because I was involved in politics here, I had to give some commentary here. I'm compelled to. If it weren't for two things, the Tea Party in 2009, which, by the way, I was a part of, and which was taxed enough already. It started as a tax movement, and then it morphed into something else once the political animals got involved with it, and then I wasn't involved with it. And the second one was Chris Christie. If we recall, Chris Christie, a little bit of a heated temper. Him and Trump were like a feather in a sort of way. Loud, bombastic at times, antagonistic, didn't take glue or rohat, as they say in Romania, from anybody. And he went, and this is what he ended up. How he paved the way, right? And a lot of those people in 2009, when I ran for assembly in New Jersey, we paved the way for a lot of people to pick candidates that are not necessarily dream candidates. And we all had pretty much the same message. You're taxed enough already. So here we have, getting back, we're going to circle around to Chris Christie now. Speaking in front of a large American flag, right? He says, some straight from New Jersey. When Trump was president, who was one of the people that he had problems with? Let's think. Senator John McCain. Right? The war hero. Senator John McCain. Came from a long line of Navy people. Very, very high-end Navy people. Right? Where ships are named after them. That sort of thing. What was John McCain's thing? Straight talk. When he ran for president and when he was backing candidates, he had the Straight Talk Express. So this was a little bit of a dig into President Trump. So I'm getting back, and I'm getting out that microwave buttered popcorn, or maybe I'll make regular popcorn without all those chemicals in it, and sit back and watch here, because I tell you what, I don't know how entertaining this is going to be or not with all these candidates here. This is going to be very interesting. I'm probably Now, I'm going to go out there on a limb. I'm going to contact some of these candidates, see if we can get them on the show. I don't know. They may do it. I'm going to see what's going to happen here. I think at least one of them will bite on here, especially the smaller campaigns. What do you think? Drop me a line, jim@safetywars.com. See if we what we can do here. What's if we can work that Safety Wars magic on them? Because I tell you what, we still got people talking about Lord Monkton. I get contact. Jimmy, I can't believe you got him on. I said, yeah, I got him on. But let's remember Alan Warford at the Diary of a Bald Man, who was on this work, got some pretty high-end, recently, some very high-end people here on here. No, now that I mention it, I got a Diary of a Bald Man, Alan Warford. Right, let's see his podcast. Who did he have on recently? Dude, it was somebody. I mean, he had interviews from here, Diary of a Bald Man. I'm sorry, guys. Daniel Davison, who was a bronze medalist, right? Daniel Hughes, another medic, right? Here, he's had some pretty high-end people here, well-known in the safety industry and outside the safety industry. So I think, we have high-end people here all the time, especially with some of the A-list podcasts. So maybe we'll go for that. Some follow-up here. We talked last night about Dollar General here. And wouldn't you know it, late this was a press release, and this came out late yesterday on Dollar General, where they had the same thing, same deal. More fines, more than $21 million in penalties. It's got to be over 22 million now at this rate. I'd say that's 22 million. Here's another press release. U.S. Department of businesses and workers to share best workplace safety and health practices. U.S. Department of Labor announced an listening session with business owners, employers, and workers to collect input on how to make health and safety a core value. This is going to be next week, in person and online at DC. You can check out the OSHA website. They have a whole thing in here. What are your things? Guiding principles, and they're looking. I know there's a thing. Sharing knowledge is a good thing. That's what we try to do here. Federal workplace safety inspectors find Illinois contractor continues exposing roofing workers to deadly fall hazards, despite previous violations. I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but $66,000 in additional penalties. This tells you this is likely going to be a small business, just based on the penalties. Inspectors noted that the contractors failed to use ladders properly. And here, let's see. And they didn't pay their OSHA penalties before, which probably put them on the juvenile list here. I still talk about when they report from one place here. It was great on here. And then they took it off about 3 days later. Citation 1, item 1, employer did not initiate. This is serious. And prevention programs. So this is 20B1. They had no safety for anything. They had nothing, nada. 36,683. By the way, you give us a call, we could write you one. It's going to be less than $3,683. I can tell you that. Citation 1, item 2. This gas are being no for sure. Around an back up here was fire extinguishers. People say they go out to the local store and buy a fire extinguisher. Let's read the correct one. Number one, pounds. Usually, most of the jobs or 10B. Usually, no, beef. It's AVC, and there's 20. There's 2 types of inspection: an annual inspection, or maybe every other year, depending on where you fall into. But it's normally every year where you get inspection by a state licensed fire official, fire extinguisher inspector. Now I know a couple of them that I've used. I'm taking the class. I've been taking the class again, and getting the license. But my understanding. Now, I know CSPs who have taken this exam and it ain't an easy exam. One of the reasons is, especially, they don't want fire extinguisher inspectors out there. You're asking for a freaking problem. So what do? They make this exam hard. And guess what? These people make a lot of money doing the fire extinguisher inspections. I don't know. With this. If you're at a facility, let's say an oil refinery, where everybody loses the tax, this might be this is like industry here. So they're getting like $50 an extinguisher. Companies, tried to do this with somebody. The connections, you do the inspection, be a piece of the action. Want to do it? Okay, I said, look, we can do this. I can do it. Okay. No. He could have nice car. We're not talking about use Yugo from 3 here. The employer training program for each employee who might be exposed to fall hazards. Again, we offer OSHA auditing. 6 for fall protection. Fine 30. Here we go. Another one. Item 1, no ladder training. That's usually included in the first training. Now, every time, repeat. $7,300 and change. Basically, a competent person. Anything else. As I do, no $33. Probably on a roof you have to be insulated. Weren't insulated. Serious one, 0. If employees could contact any part of an and citation to item 4 here. Higher, you need some fall protection. That does not necessarily harness and anchorage, things that can go in there, like rain. Set up crop. That is fine. Citation 3. A ladder is not inspected. It has to be writing. I'm doing that tomorrow. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Go figure it out. Okay. So acetylene oxide virtual meeting. on June 20th at 6 p.m. Enrico County, Virginia. Share information about the health risks of chemical ethylene. Community meeting will take place virtually. During the meeting, EPA staff will discuss information related to Virginia fertilizer facility located. So, concerns, and they're having a meeting there, so you can check it out off the EPA website. Region 7 presents a $2 million check to the city of Keystone selection for Brownfields grant. There was a brownfield site in Keokuk, Iowa, EPA Region 7, and then we're for $1 million ceremonial check. I always wondered when I was little. They have these big checks. And imagine going to the bank with one of them. Yeah, I definitely get through an ATM. The grant program is funded by this infrastructure law. A lot of stuff going in there. So they're going to be cleaning up the site apparently, and they're continuing renovation or something like that. And in order for that, this will be used to support community outreach. And they're trying to. I've worked those brownfield sites. So the we had yesterday with has a supervisor. It's all released. They was field. The says you need 40-hour training as offered a brownfield determination to in commercial.
In the professional safety community, communicating and planning are just a few success. The question many practitioners have is Dr. Jay Allen, the creator of the Safety FM platform of the Radar Safety Show, has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to Safety F and listen to professionals, including Blakeman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jim Zell with Wars, Emma, and many others. Great things as a team. Become. Dial into a powerful force.
OSHA records environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy.
I am your father. Okay, some more news. Biden and Harris administration invests $150 million in funding to responding to the drinking water emergency in Mississippi. His first awarded of $600 million total secured by Biden-Harris administration for water system. If they can start with criminal people who let this get this far out of hand, that would be great, because guess what? People drinking freaking contaminated water, right? Environmental, yeah. This is a and government don't do what they're supposed to, and for years they've been a water emergency here, mainly for lead and people slap on the wrist, Shrek out there. Oh, that's what's such a bad thing to do. Do it again. Oh, well, that's my daughter there. But she gave me that for my birthday. But anyway, it's guys, for you listeners there, I was holding up a Shrek doll. But anyway, come on, guys. What are you doing? You're protecting the public. Now, this, again, might be here, controversial as it is. The problem is this. You have people with highly specialized information, right, that are involved in things. And that's just the way things have evolved in our tree here. So I had a teacher in high school that used to joke about the left-hand specialist or the right-hand specialist. No, that's not a dirty connotation there. Right? People getting so specialized, and you saw it back in the 80s here, right, with things. And what we need, as what Joe Bast of the Heartland Institute, former president, told me, we need generalists, Jim. People who know about a whole wide range of things, running things in government and outside government. That's why I have the background I do in safety and in environmental policy and things of that nature. So we have a broad sense of what's going on. That's what the advanced policy analysis background is with this. And what happens is that, okay, I'm going to assume there are people in this system here that were in charge of these water systems that failed. We'll assume that. What about, right? What about they have no knowledge of what goes down in the infrastructure and how things work? The whole systems analysis. I think that's where part of this problem is with all this stuff. I don't know. It's one of those things with this. I mean, at a certain level, I hope there was, if there hasn't been, there should be a grand jury, even a federal grand jury, to investigate all this stuff and start charging people here with this. I mean, we had our own situation in New Jersey, where I'm from, Cliffwood Beach in Cliffwood, New Jersey, where and also Sayreville, where they dumped all of this lead stuff from National Lead, which is now being remediated. The Raritan River going in New Jersey, quote unquote, down the shore. You went over the Driscoll Bridges if you came from North Jersey. And, they backfilled all this land, and they took National Lead was there. They backfilled all these beaches for the lead waste. I remember them doing it in the 70s. As a young kid, one of my early memories, because they were building jetties in Morgan, New Jersey, and they used lead contaminated waste. And they had that was like the first beach on the Jersey Shore, right? Morgan and Cliffwood Beach. We'll go down there swimming in lead. The investigators found a letter from National Lead to Sayreville and to Morgan and all those communities down there. Don't use this stuff for backfill. What do? They got it. They used backfill. Nobody held responsible. Oh, well, that even, okay, maybe they were liable. They had stuff. Okay, I get it. There's nobody's guilt-free here. But then no mention of what the county did and what the people in charge of the beaches did over here. What they, oh, well, we'll forget about it. No, sovereign immunity. Who cares? Sovereign immunity. With environmental issues, that's something that needs to be done away with, in my opinion. Some MSHA news. We don't do MSHA news here because they're not like releasing press releases. So this is like a PR release, I would call it, from MSHA. Good. They're doing a PR release. So The U.S. Department of Labor announced today, and this is from May 1st, that's Hill is inspections at 20 mines in 15 states found 330 violations. There were, compared to this entire, where they were 914 violations identified since the first of this year from the agency. The agency opens impact inspections at mines that merit increased agency attention and enforcement due to poor compliance history, previous accidents, injuries, and illnesses, and other compliance alerts. MSHA began using impact inspections after an April 2010 explosion in West Virginia at the Upper Big Branch mine that killed 29 miners. So what did they find here? Boom. Let's see. Do they give me a link? Yes. Hold on. Impact. Oh, they have a whole thing with inspection results here. And if this were at all readable, right? And I'm not familiar with MSHA stuff, but basically, well, they have a nice little spreadsheet here with this naming the mine, the citations, and exactly what they are. So this is probably worth. Now, I was asked over the weekend, not this past weekend, but Memorial Day weekend, if I did MSHA work. And no, I don't do MSHA work with that. My understanding is that it's extremely lucrative. It should be. Okay, the Epoch Times, that's one of our sources that we normally use. It's run by the Falun Gong people of China. New study links heart attacks with accelerated cognitive decline. Well, yeah, you're getting less, and yeah, that might have cognitive decline, I would think. A new study found that people, this is from Johns Hopkins Medicine, from JAMA Neurology, Journal of the American Medical Association Neurology, examined the impact of a heart attack on overall cognitive function, memory, and brain skills known as executive functions, such as the ability to follow multi-step instructions and display self-control. 6 to 13 years of cognitive decline. Wow. Accelerates it by 6 to 13 years. Researchers found that having a heart attack did not affect those measures that they were doing that we just mentioned immediately following the event, rather than impacted brain health. I think that the stress of having a heart problem would cause an impact on brain health. But what do I know? Here we go. CDC alert. Virus outbreak on cruise ship leaves over 150 passengers sick. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported that more than 175 people were sick with a norovirus during a recent Celebrity Cruise Summit cruise to Bermuda. Now, this is what I remember a number of years ago. We had a couple, and this is going way back, from my old church that went on a cruise. I don't know what the cruise line was, and it was all over the news every day. Norovirus, and it was like more than this. It was like hundreds of people more than this came down with that. And we get in contact with them. Their daughter gets in contact with them, and they're like, "Oh, we didn't hear anything about it." Well, it's all over the news. It's on your ship. They said, "We didn't hear about it." Okay, very good there. All right. West Coast processing slows down following worker disruptions. So what's going on the West Coast now? Here, the writers' strike. Now there are reports that the actors and actresses might go on strike. And I usually I'm against strikes, but they have a freaking good point here, right? With this the artificial intelligence stuff here. I mean, it's scary, man. There's now it's going to, right, we know the digital cameras, especially with these things on the darn cell phones, they'll have really negatively impacted photography work, because now everybody could be a photographer. I know one woman, she went out there and she took a couple of courses in photography with this stuff. I'll give her a plug. Compassionate Rose Life Coaching, local person here. She and I tell you what, she went to that 1-day class about a winter and a half ago, a year and a half ago, like 2 winters, something once a winter. I don't know. I just said that. And I tell you what, she does one heck of a job with those pictures. You can't tell. Now they have AI out there from Abby Ferry, right? Who was from the Safety Justice League fame, right? She used to be one of the hosts. She put up there a couple of photos of herself with AI that were enhanced with AI, and it did like phenomenal photos of her. And I saw some other things on there. Incredible. So now the West Coast, like I guess if you recall during the pandemic, they had like 50 ships. 50 ships out there, and anchored off the coast, and one of them ruptured a pipeline, a big oil spill over there by Santa Barbara, and now I thought we recovered here, but now guess what? More contract issues. Now the dock workers are going on a strike again. I want to say again. And the last time I think was 2005, and the main thing is wages. So according to the ILWU, their union, right, pointed out that their members, carriers and terminal operators made a historic $510 billion profit during the pandemic, and continues to post revenues that far exceed pre-pandemic times by billions of dollars. And the union members risked and lost their lives to ensure the grocery shelves were stocked and everything else is out there. And they want a raise. Okay. Probably, again, with the way things are managed during the pandemic, people were out there for a number of years after the anthrax cleanups and the Ebola situation and SARS and MERS and all other things that came about. No, the pandemic flu that never came about. 2020, they're screaming about it for years. H1N1 and all this. Point here really set up the stuff, and we're all ignored. Well, here's another more fallout. They mismanaged this, right? Let's face it. Hindsight being 2020, this is mismanaged, and I can't really, fault people for not being able to anticipate this stuff. Things are mismanaged. This is hindsight being 2020. Okay, let's forgive and forget up to a certain point here, but now we have other issues here with supply chains coming again. Another one, toxic chemicals used to make plastics found in many over-the-counter medications. So, where is this coming from? The World Journal of Gastroenterology. A lot of stuff, and disrupting chemicals, phthalates, endocrine disruptors, all in stuff. And again, FDA's blame for this for lack of stringent things. I don't know. Something to keep an eye on, I guess. I hate it when I have these things set up. And now, GOP lawmaker says FBI afraid their Biden informant will be killed if unmasked. Unmasked means exposed. Florida GOP representative Anna Paulina Luna revealed on Monday evening that the FBI is afraid that an informant who brought the Bureau information regarding an alleged bribery scheme involving then Vice President Joe Biden would be killed if unmasked. Just left the House Oversight. The FBI afraid their informant will be killed if unmasked, based on the info he has brought forward about the Biden family. A whistleblower who has reportedly provided Republicans with evidence alleging Joe Biden, President Biden, was involved in corrupt pay-for-play schemes as vice president, has been frequently used by the FBI since the Obama administration is deemed to be highly credible. As first reported by news outlets, the individual has alleged that the former VP was involved in criminal bribery scheme with a foreign national human source used by the Bureau and terms in office. Well, yeah, that's so. We have the story here. Wild Spark Switchins in the Northeast. Things have thoughts. A lot of things with this from a lot of companies, clients that are like, are we? Maybe we went too far because now people were at each other's throats during the pandemic. Now they're more at each other's throats. What's your opinion on that? My opinion is that we treat all people with respect. That's down to. I had a conversation with my son today. And my wife had a conversation with him also. That there are people out there that are trying their best, doing their best. They have all different issues. Let's not add to their stress. Let's treat people with respect. I try to say hello and good morning to pretty much everybody I see on the street. Good morning, hello, good. My mother taught me from a very early age. My mother was worked for Woodbridge Police in Woodbridge, New Jersey. She retired from them as a safety officer. And what's a safety officer? It was a highly trained crossing guard, essentially, for major streets in town. So you would have the crossing guards. The way things are set up in Woodbridge, you would have a crossing guard paid by the Department of Education, the Board of Education, for small side streets, and the police department would train and the safety officers, and they were on the police payroll. My mother was also a police matron for many years before they had female police officers became common. They would have a police matron to process suspects, female suspects. And by the way, the whole transgender thing been around for a long time. Big issue that my mother had to deal with a couple of times. But anyway, she said, look, as a safety officer, a school safety officer, the only positive interaction that many of these children had, and this is the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I believe she retired just after 9/11, early 2000s. Some of the only positive conversations that these children have is with her. And there's usually 2 or 3 or 4 people, usually girls, sometimes boys, that had problems at home, had nobody to talk to about the problems at home. Very limited school resources. My mother, with her life experiences, I went through it on here, and having 4 boys, one with special needs, that's me, was able to talk with them. Years later, for years, people were contacting me on Facebook. People were calling her up. People, when she was still working, people came with their students to get across my mother. Said if it weren't for that positive attitude, if it weren't for you counseling me, I would have ended up in a much bad place. The biggest one was one my mother had pride was where a girl came back. She was one of these girls that like disappeared. Like you see her in high school, and all of a sudden September comes, she's not there anymore. And what happened was she got into a little bit of trouble, and she went into a military academy and a military school of some sort, a military setting, and she joined the Marines. And she came back when she was 19 and she had rank. She was, and whatever it was, came in her dress uniform to salute my mother because of that. So you don't know what people are going through, and you have to have things, and this is along the lines with people you agree with, people you work with, whether they're LGBTQ plus or any other situation. Have respect. You're there at work to get a job, get it done efficiently, get it done fully for your company, loyalty to your company. Don't necessarily have to like everybody. You have to get along with them. It helps, but let's show respect. Let's show getting along with positive energy, things of that nature. Ways a lot for. The other thing is this: a lot of hatred going on. A lot of hatred. If you're trying to get people to come to your side, doesn't matter what side of this issue you're on. Antagonizing them, name calling them, getting into fights with them, having fisticuffs, it does not do your side any good at all. Friendly debate, things of that nature is one thing. Going out after each other doesn't work. And I'm going to lament that. Right? This will be buried in the podcast. I'm sure someone will say, or will come back, well, Jim, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, whatever. Everyone's got to get along. Calm down. Peaceful. Get along. Russia and Ukraine, have respect for each other. See it from the other person's point of view. Don't be so hard. Be kinder. Being kind doesn't cost anything. So apparently they're screaming ecocide in Ukraine. Famous quote from a military leader. I'm not exactly sure who it was. I've heard it from several military leaders. What is the military's purpose? Military's purpose is two things: to break things and kill people. So who would have ever thought that during a war, a dam, which is a strategic thing, would get hit? Who would have ever thought that? Well, it happened today in the Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine trade blame for destruction of Kakhovka Dam and power plant. Now, I have a little bit of experience here because the little dam that at the lake where my parents owned a house almost was in danger of breaching because of lack of maintenance. And I tell you what, you want to talk about, you can go to jail if you're in charge of maintaining a dam and it doesn't get repaired in this country. Good chance that you're going to go to jail if it breaches. And this is just for a little dam. They were estimates on how much damage of that dam breached, and then they drained the lake, this and that, and rebuilt it, and we all lived happily ever after. And here we have, I'm looking at this Kakhovka footage here. Wow. This is like a raging river. Everything is getting flooded down below. Thousands of people at risk, impacting the power for the whole grid in that region. Big deal here. And everyone's blaming each other here. Again, a lot of, I don't even know where that would begin. Here we have an indoor air quality problem. A woman sued to stop her neighbor from smoking marijuana. That's marijuana. And won. A D.C. judge has ruled a man who smokes medical marijuana in his apartment must stop after a neighbor complained that the odor from his marijuana crept into her home and caused a nuisance. Judge Ebony Scott ruled late Monday that while the Josefa Ippolito Shepherd could not prove she is entitled to damages, she successfully made the smell is a private nuisance. And Scott ordered Thomas Cackett to stop smoking. Scott said that Cackett is licensed to buy marijuana, but he does not possess a license to disrupt the full use and enjoyment of one's land. This is the whole property rights issue, right? If the smell never left his hand, his area, guess what? No problem. Now it left. Now you have a situation. Asked me about over the weekend when I pointed out a piece of land owned by the government that was like not being used well and was basically horrible. I mean, no forestry down there or anything else. No modern farm. Daddy, why is it like that? An economic lack of property use. And the property right, you have an inefficient use here. This is, and I think what that meant. If you don't own it, you don't take care of it. Real short. And she got that. What makes me laugh is that 2 weeks ago, she asked me about how things are priced. And I explained to her how things are priced and went into some economic theory, supply and demand with her. And she was like, oh, really? And it turned out, no, she's 8 years old asking, and she had questions, intelligent questions. And I said, 8 years old? Economics questions on macroeconomics? Pretty darn good. Yeah, that's my daughter that is on the little promo here. Here's another threat to our democracy here and to Western democracy in general and us in specific in the United States. This is a report by Chris Talgo from the Heartland Institute. And as you recall, we interviewed the president here earlier this year. Nation's report card, only 13% of 8th graders are proficient in U.S. history. Okay, so I had a professor when I took a class in college called Black Power, William James, professor emeritus from Richard Stockton University now. He's retired. I hope he's still alive because I tell you what, he had a lot of good ideas, a lot to say. He said, if you want to take away a country and destroy a country, there are 3 things that you need to destroy. Number 1 is the language. Number 2 is the history. Number 3 is the religion. Those are the 3 things. And he also added a 4th one in there, the family. And believe me, this guy was not a Christian, religious, right, holy roller. He teaching a course called Black Power. So here we have, and he posed the question, and this was 1992. Man was way ahead of his time. How does this impact us today? And I said, well, look at what we're doing in this country. In 1992, we had issues with language and things of that nature. Here, is that the same thing being done in the United States? He said, well, that's a very good question. And again, those who don't study history are damned to repeat it. And his context was what happened to the black family, or when they came to this country, the African slaves. 99.9% of them, where everything was destroyed, everything was taken away from them. So here we have a situation that, according to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, the nation's report card, 13% of 8th grade students earned a proficient score in U.S. history. That's taking away a history generation. Why aren't they using this? A lot of reasons why. When my father passed away last year, I have a lot to say tonight, right? All amped up. We came across what I believe to be a draft of a history book he was working on in the 1980s. And it was all about 30 or 40 pages in handwritten notes. It's a treasure. History interested him. My question is, with 13% of 8th grade students earning a proficient score in U.S. history, why aren't they interested in history? Why is it not? I'm not going to blame the educators. Different way of going about things, making it history. Why is it important to know history? Right? Lord Acton's admonishment, those who don't know history are damned to repeat it. I believe it was Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, who said it differently, that history doesn't repeat itself at a rhyme. I'm learning as I get older how important it was, those history lessons that we learned, because what I'm finding out is that people are making the same mistakes. They're going down the same road again and again and again. And it's nice to have, right, it's nice to have a history teacher, right? And what's our impression of history teachers? I got a prop for that. Hold on. Right. This is the impression of history teachers, right? Of college ones, especially Scullins type stuff. They're talking to. No, this is not a real human. This is ceramic, and they're talking. And this is going to be at the end of it, of the safety training skull, right? Lasts that long, and they're talking to it, sort of thing, right? And they look intelligent, and this sort of thing. This is a parody, right, of what things are. This is not exciting for people for a lot of reasons. Maybe we need to change things up a little bit, teach people why it's. Because I tell you what, you don't learn history, you lose the country, you lose the culture. Cop didn't work, but at least I got it, right? You weren't expecting that one. I guarantee it. So here we have one from Climate Realism. Biased news study claims Florida's strawberry scare as harvests set records. At the top of today's climate search results, promoted by Google News, and this is a story from June 5th, yesterday, is an article by Axios claiming Florida's strawberry industry is threatened by climate change. The article uncritically parrots talking points from a paper published by the activist group, the EDF, Environmental Defense Fund, which raises hundreds of millions of dollars each year promoting false climate scares. Okay, well, this is their view. A look at objective data shows strawberry production in Florida and nationwide set records almost every year as our planet mostly warms. I don't know. Could it be because of better farming techniques? I don't know. I like strawberries. I have them almost every day in very small amounts. Okay, we're going to start wrapping it up here. What else do we have here? I don't really have anything else here as far as news. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers revokes permit for Minnesota wine. States threat to downstream tribes' waters. There was a new range copper nickel mine in northeastern Minnesota, popularly known as Polymet, said the permit did not comply with the water quality standards set by the sovereign downstream tribe. Remember, these tribes, that's their own nation. They run their own show. The permit does not ensure compliance with water quality requirements of the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa. The tribe's reservation on the St. Louis River is downstream from the mine and processing plant near Babbitt and Hoyt Lakes. Okay, good. I mean, they set their own thing. They're their own nation, as they should set their own standards on that, right? Agenda spat at, and this is from the AP, at New York Climate Talk as top officials seize chicken questions in Dubai. Nations resume talks on tackling global warming Monday with the aim of shaping a deal that might put the world on track to prevent dangerous increases in temperatures, as the UN top climate official called for deep cuts in fossil fuel use. Diplomats began 2-week negotiations in Bonn, Germany, despite failing to agree on a formal agenda because of differences on the topic of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. They're saying the issue lies at the heart of the climate problem, since burning oil, coal, gas, and gas is responsible for most warming that's occurred since pre-industrial times. Simon Steele, or Style, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, who heads the UN Climate Office, told the AP in an interview over the weekend that limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius will require a phase out of fossil fuels. Right now, something many oil producing countries have pushed back on. Okay, well, let's put it this way. We know that in the United States, the policy is to push fossil fuels until at least 2050. Number one, that's the official thing from the Biden administration, what the internal papers say that are made public, regardless of what they say on the surface. Number one. Number two, how much is it going to cost for this 1.5 degree theoretical? And no, we've had guests on here who have put out some information that this is a bunch of rohat, as they say in Romania. So here. So how much is this going to cost? Again, there has to be some rational cost benefit analysis, and I don't think that's being done here. Even if you agree with if that's wasted on us with this. And what else here? That's all I have. Oh, I have one for you. Compton's driverless car havoc on San Francisco. They ran to electric wire, bringing traffic grinding to a halt. They tear through a crime scene. Sometimes they use Muni roads. I don't know what a Muni route is. Passengers are simply trying to go after a long day at work. What driverless cars? This is an article from the Daily Analogy section. So, no. Rats. AVs was authorized. So apparently there's some problems. So now they added that's all I got for you folks. On the show tonight, we have a lot of information here. And news and views. Or This is Jim Polo. If you need health and safety consulting, give us a call at 845-269-5772 or contact me, Jim at safetywars.com. Listen to the show, like us, share us, whatever platform you're on, wherever you see us on social media. For Safety Wars, this is Jim Polo. OSHA. Oh, there we go.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on limited open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the Clip Podcast, Jay Allen.